I was quite excited to get my hands on this. This is the CL Racing F4S flight controller. So this is the follow-up to the CL Racing F4 flight controller that I reviewed previously. And this is the new and improved version, and from the looks of what's on their website and everything else that I've seen, this is a definitely an improved version. So I have opened this and had a quick look, but I haven't really sort of done much to it. I thought I'd save it all for the video. So this is how it came in a box. It's got a little barcode on here that you can scan to get your manual. I've done that, and the manual is just the same screenshot that you get on most web pages that are selling this. And yeah, so I will just open the box and we'll see what's in it. So yeah, obviously got a little protector. That's all you get. So that's the flight controller itself. You get some cables and these little yellow grommets. So yeah, that's the first little difference, I guess, is get that out of there. They give you these little yellow grommets, and those just need a bit taken off. So these will go inside the corners of the flight controller, and that'll give me my my vibration isolation for the flight controller. And that's pretty neat. It's pretty neat that they give you these. Don't need to buy anything extra. Shove that over there. Get rid of the box. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I fully expect more flight controllers to start coming with things like this, especially now that everybody seems to want to go back to isolating their flight controller, which is probably a good thing. So I'll take those over there. The other obvious thing in the box was this cable, which brings us to probably the first obvious feature. If I turn the flight controller around so I can see it, I got my little pokey stick, is this connector here. So what this is a connector for your 4-in-1 ESCs. So this has got your 4 signal cables, your current sensor, and I'll have to check the manual for the last bit. Oh, and a ground, that's right. So one common ground, the current sensor, and your 4 signals for your speed controllers. So this is basically designed to go from this flight board into your 4-in-1 ESC, so you don't need to fiddle around with all your cables. So that's really good. A lot of people ask for that. So I guess we need to go through the differences between this board and the old board. This is still a PDB and flight controller built in, so you've still got your 4 motor connections in the same corners with your ESC connections. On the bottom side you've got your battery in and out and your current sensor, so it's all built in, which is exactly the same as the other board. So actually, if I turn this around this way, I don't know whether you can see the text on that, but these are all labelled quite nicely. There's a lot more pads here than there were on the last one, and that's because there's a few more features. So we'll start, well, I guess we'll start across the top. So the first 4 pads, well, I'm not talking about this top line here, I'm talking about this line here. These first 4 pads here are for your camera. So this has a selectable 5V and 9V output for your camera. So that's selectable here. And it's got a 2 amp BEC. Yeah, 2 amp filtered BEC for your video camera and a Vtx. So this actually means if you're running something like a runcam split, which I know a lot of people tried to run off the last board, this board will actually now give it enough voltage at 5V. Mine came pre-selected at 9V, so to switch it to 5V I just need to desolder that there, solder that bridge there, and it swaps it out to 5V. So you could plug a split into that, and then have your Vtx on the other side. And that'd be really cool. Or you can plug just a normal runcam or Foxeer or any of the HS1177 style cameras, or any camera really, into this. And you've got your positive, your negative, and your signal. And you also have this extra pin, which is camera C, which I'm guessing is for control. Apparently what this is for is you connect it up to the little OSD cable on the camera, and that'll let you work through the camera menu via your flight controller. So a lot of cameras you can change the setting for like the brightness and the saturation and all of those things. Apparently you can now cable this up to your flight controller and control that off of your flight controller, which will make that even cooler. That means if you've got an OSD, you can do it all by remote. You don't need to go over and plug anything into your quad like you used to. So moving across, you've got a telemetry pin. Now, unlike the previous version, this telemetry pin is actually inverted. That's really good if you're running a FreeSky system, because you need an inverted telemetry pin. If you're running any of the other systems, then that's not so crash hot, but we'll come back to that because they've accounted for that as well. So next to that, you've got your 3.3 and your satellite connection. So this is for your satellite receivers. Then you've got your S-bus and then 5 volts and ground. So you would use these three if you're running, say, Tyrannus, and these two you can run if you're running something else, possibly with the ground as well if you need it. So down the bottom you've got your Vtx Signal, so that's your signal to your video signal to your transmitter. You've got your Vtx plus and minus, so that'd be plus in your ground for your video transmitter. Again, that would be controlled by your 9 volts or 5 volts here. You've got TX and RX4 like you did on the previous board. UART4 is presented through these pins here. And then you've got a 5 volt and a ground, and you've got your lead strip board. So you've got a dedicated pin for your lead strip there. So that's all that on the top. Now on the bottom, you obviously got your battery connectors here. You also have a second set of little battery connectors here. I'm going to assume this is for pushing out to a 4-in-1 ESC. I'm not entirely sure because there's nothing in the manual mentions this, but if I was going to be running a 4-in-1, I'd want them to come off the board, and you probably want it to go through the current sensor. So I'd probably say that's for that. And the other difference between this one and the previous one are these two pins over here. You have your TX1 and your TX6. So again, like with the previous one, you've got a little silk screen on here that tells you what connects to what. So your S-bus connects to UART1, your telemetry is UART3, and your satellite is UART6. Now what this means is if you're not running telemetry, or you're not running inverted telemetry, then you're not going to be using UART, well, you are going to be using UART3 for telemetry, but you're not going to be able to use UART3 because that's inverted. So you might be saying running S-bus but uninverted telemetry. I know there are some receivers that do that. So you'd run your S-bus on UART1. You're not running satellite, so you can use UART6 because you have this transmit pin now for your telemetry, and that keeps you with UART4 for other peripherals like your video transmitter if you've got a smart one. And by the same token, if you're running satellite on UART6, you won't be using your S-bus, which means you can use UART1 because you have the pin here now for your transmit. So you could use that for, say, telemetry or for your smart audio on your transmitter, and that would keep UART4 free for anything else that you need. So yeah, so that's that side of the board. That's a really neat feature, and that was actually one of the downsides of the previous board. So I'm personally really glad that they've picked that one. So we'll just keep going through the list of stuff that they've got here. So yeah, they have a so the 5 volt comes off of a 5 volt back. That'll give you 2 amps, and this video signal, video voltage will come off of either be 5 volts or 9 volts depending on which you select, and that's a separate 2 amps. So you can run quite a lot of stuff off of this board now, which is really kind of cool. So yeah, so as far as the rest of the hardware goes, it's pretty much the same as the previous version, with one notable exception. You'll notice there's no buzzer on this board. Now I quite like the buzzer on the previous board. It was not very loud, but it was nice to have. but there's no built-in buzzer on this board. That did cause a few people some problems with the last board, so actually I've just worked it out. That's your buzzer section there. That's not battery, that's buzzer. That's not highlighted on here much at all. Or maybe I missed it. Yeah, so if you so this is where you connect your buzzer. That makes a lot more sense. See, helps if you read the manual. So yeah, so you'd connect your buzzer onto that and it would all be cool. Your little internal and external here are for your current sensor, so it's currently cabled to internal. So if you're using an external current sensor, say on your 4-in-1 ESC, you could desolder that and solder this one and it turns off the internal one. But yeah, that's your buzzer connector. So you don't cable your ESC onto that. What you would do is power into the ESC, use the current sensor on the ESC through the little cable, and then tell the board which one to use. Alright, so this was just a quick look at this board, and an overview of all the features that this board's got that the previous one didn't, and the one missing buzzer, which honestly I don't think anybody's going to miss. Yeah, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, despite having a little cut in the middle there and me missing some words, and maybe think about subscribing. Thanks very much.